Cattle rustling is an ever-present and growing problem across the nation. It is growing more and more popular as the price for cattle increases. Cattle are stolen across the nation in alarming rates. Cattle theft is incredibly difficult to prosecute, but if farmers and ranchers take a few small, simple steps, cattle theft can be prevented. When the topic of cattle rustling is brought up, most people think of the Wild West, because this is when cattle rustling became a major issue. In the Wild West, rogue cowboys and Native Americans would ride into open pastures and steal unbranded first-year calves before the owner had the opportunity to come in and brand them to mark them as his own. Nowadays, cattle rustling is still a problem, but with some major modern twists. Wayne Guard with the Texas State Historical Association said on June 12, 2010, that techniques of theft in the later 20th century included anesthetizing cattle with hypodermic darts, using trained bulldogs to then bring the animals down, and finally herding the cattle with helicopters. Modern methods are used nowadays to take down cattle and to wheel them off as fast as they can to get their money. These modern methods are also in conjunction with modern reasoning behind the cattle thefts. Mose Bushell with NPR News reported on August 21st, 2013, that the cows that remain are valuable. Some fetch thousands of dollars, an appealing target for people looking to feed addiction. Not always, but I would say the majority of these cases are driven by the meth community, and they know it's some quick cash. Cattle bring a couple $1,000s nowadays per head, and drug addictions can make a person do desperate things. And in a addict's mind, stealing a cow or two is a very quick fix, and unfortunately is a major problem. While thousands of cattle are stolen every year, mainly by the drug community, very few convictions are made. While roughly 10,000 head of cattle were stolen in 2012, Mose Bushell from NPR reported on August 21st, 2013, that last year authorities only filed 46 cases against rustlers. So if we go back and logically think, 10,000 head of cattle and 46 cases, most cattle are only stolen at about 6 at a time, which means that only roughly 3% of all cattle rustling cases are ever prosecuted. The major issue behind the uptick in the cattle thefts and their difficulty in prosecuting is that most farmers have gone away from branding their cattle, and the cattle are no longer identifiable. Burt Rutherford wrote in Beef Magazine on November 1st, 2007, that the easier cattle are to identify, the less incentive there is to steal. Basically, if a cattle is easily identified in a stock market, the cattle thief is going to recognize the risk of himself or herself being caught, and will move on to the next farm to attempt to steal it. Cattle are, if they are unbranded, they look just like any other cow, and you cannot prove ownership unless a brand is easily identifiable on the cow. Prosecutions can be pretty much guaranteed impossible if a cow is not branded or has an ear notch or an ear tag. It is branding a cow is one of the simple steps that farmers and ranchers need to take to help prevent cattle thefts. If a cow has an ear notch, an ear tag, or is branded, you can prove that that cow is yours, and it's in the state of Oklahoma is legal proof of ownership. Other steps to follow include regularly checking fences, making sure they're in good repair, fixing problem areas, and keeping gates locked. Across the United States, cattle rustling will continue. It's a problem, and it probably will not stop ever, but we can turn the tides and lessen the amount of cattle stolen and increase the prosecutions of cattle theft. Farmers just need to take the proper preventative measures, and this uphill battle can quickly turn around.